So, I thought I would do some of the questions that I haven't been able to ask you. We had quite a few today. Answer you on Instagram, I thought I'd put in here. And this week's Q&A edition is all around food rather than other stuff. God's sake, what an idiot. So today's first question, I'm going to try and keep this, you know, nice, short, snappy. But so this is a Q&A all around kind of like nutrition, food, that sort of thing. And hopefully it can help you answer some of your questions. In recovery, oh, that's not about food. This is a good start, eh? Look at me strategically put in my journal, up here by the way. Did you binge in recovery? I can't stop. Now, personally, I didn't, but I also think that there is a different definitions of binging for everyone. So my form of binging might be completely different to someone else, but from what I gather, the binging that a lot of people experience, which is that whole like never feeling satisfied and just being like 1 minute you're fine and then the next minute you're eating the whole kitchen. I was very lucky that I didn't, and I think I put that down to number one, working with Rena McGregor, so she sent me a food plan that I was able to follow. Number two, I slowly started to enter recovery, if that makes sense. Before I fully committed to all in, I had been kind of like, I had been increasing my calories. I'm just doing a YouTube video. Oh, okay. And I really prioritized my carbohydrates. Oh, and also I was eating regularly, so I didn't leave a huge gap in between my meal times, and I think that's really important. I don't know a lot about binging, and I don't want to pretend that I do, partly obviously because I haven't been through it, but binging is something that I really would advise you get help on and get a professional to see you on, because that it might be like a psychological thing. That obviously it might just be that you have been on a diet for a sustained amount of time and your body has kind of just been like, nah, give me the food, where you've restricted for so long and then you binge. We see it all the time in diet culture. We see, you know, you start Monday, you really drop your calories too low. By Friday, you're craving all the sugar and all of this. And it might be that that's the case, which that can then be solved by increasing your calories by quite a bit, making sure you're focused on carbs and eating regularly. Or it might be something a little bit more psychological, which if it is, then I'd really recommend going to see a professional to be able to help you with that. If you're eating enough calories in the day, does timing of eating matter for an athlete? Yes. I believe it does. From my experience, it does. So if you are recovering from HA, you want to eat straight away as soon as you wake up. This is when your cortisol levels, so your stress hormone, is at its highest, and it also means that you would have been fasting from when you ate your last meal all the way through the night. Now when your body's really stressed, and also you have HA, which is from underfueling, most likely, you want to get in that fuel so your body feels a bit like, okay, this is cool, she's not going to starve me for the rest of the day. So get that meal in straight away, and then eating every 2 to 3 hours, especially if you've got HA. We just want to keep those hormones and those blood sugar levels nice and stable, so your body doesn't, you know, starts to learn to trust us again. If you're an athlete and if you are working out with HA, eating times in terms of pre-workout and post-workout are just as important. So you want to make sure that you are fueling your workout, whether you do it, you know, you have a pre-workout before, whether that's jam on toast or peanut butter on toast. You want to make sure you've got some carbs there, so you're nice and fueled for that workout. And then post-workout, you want to get that protein and that carbohydrate source in it as well. If it's been predominantly I don't know if that's the right word. If it's been a pretty hard training session or workout or whatever, you also want to prioritize your recovery meals after that. So eating every couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, making sure, especially if you have HA, eating every 2 to 3 hours. And it can take, after a really hard session, it can take up to 72 hours for our bodies to fully recover. So I would just really have that in mind. If you've had a hard session, you know, don't just have a strong post-workout meal. Think about your whole recovery, making sure you know, you're really giving your body the carbohydrates and the protein to be able to recover. If you know you've got a hard session coming up, maybe like the next day, then also those preloading, you know, making sure you are having, say you've got a hard session in the morning, making sure you are having a suitable amount of carbs like the night before. Now, I don't know all the studies, and I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that disagree with me in terms of athletic performance and potentially weight loss and stuff like that. I'm just saying this based on my own experience and with HA. The idea, if you have HA, the idea is that we want to continuously drip feed our bodies with food so it doesn't go into that state of famine and doesn't trust us again. We want to keep those stress levels down and we want to stay fueled. So that's that. Only tips for not being in control of what you eat, and it tends to cause me a lot of stress. Yes, so this is a big one for me. I definitely had a lot of stress when it came to not being in control of what I ate. I actually found that I would avoid visiting family. My family lived 4-hour drive from me, and I would avoid going to visit them at weekends because it would actually cause me so much stress to knowing that they would be cooking for me rather than me cooking for myself. I wouldn't, like, my best mate would often invite me around for roasts, and it would overwhelm me to the point that I would say yeah and I'd be really excited, and then I'd get really overwhelmed and just be like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm busy, I'm not going to come, when actually all it was I couldn't face the fact that I hadn't cooked that and I didn't know what was in that food, and I was going to eat around people that ate very normally, and I was worried that people might notice that I didn't, or it was just an overwhelming time. So yeah, I completely get that. And do you know what? Like, I know it causes a lot of stress, but if you're going through disordered eating and HA, putting yourself in those positions are going to be the best thing for you, because you're challenging those thoughts and you're actually taking away the control. You're releasing, you're surrendering, you're being like, okay, cool, right, I'm not going to live my whole life, you know, being stressed around how much food I'm eating and stuff like this, and realistically I don't want to live my whole life having to be the one that cooks for myself all the time. I sometimes want to eat out for food and things like that. I want to go around my friend's house for a roast, and keeping yourself in those situations, as much as it's causing you stress now, is, I really think, is really beneficial for you, or it was for me anyway. I just found as if it was like, I often found when I went to visit my dad and that, I would come back feeling so much better and so much more like chill and being like, okay, cool, I don't need to stress about my food, because that problem was taken away from me. So my tip was that try to just release it and just be like, okay, this is stressing me out right now, but I know it's going to help me in the long run. Should you slowly increase calories or jump to doubling calories straight away? Now, again, every single person is different. I think we have to, personally, in my opinion, I think we have to protect our mental health as well as we do our physical health. If I had gone straight away from eating that to that, I think I would have freaked out. Well, I know I would have freaked out eventually. So for me, I just slowly started to increase the amount of carbohydrates and the amount of food. I think it's up to you. Personally, like I said, for me, I wasn't ready for that huge leap, but I would say that I hear of the bigger the jump you do straight away, I do believe that's when you'll heal quicker, obviously, because you're just like going straight up to maintenance of what your body really, really needs. So I don't know, it depends if you're mentally strong enough, which if you are, then like please go for it, because you'll recover so much quicker. But for me, I couldn't. I was like a bit frantic about it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm gonna have to change my whole life. So yeah, if you can, I definitely would recommend it. And actually no, I never regret. I don't like to think I regret anything. And looking back, I wouldn't have done anything differently. But I think if I was, maybe that might have been, I probably would have jumped up a lot quicker than what I did, if that makes sense. But I did start my journey when there wasn't many of us lot talking about it on Instagram. So I think maybe if I was going through it now and I had a lot more support, because I had all these different accounts, I probably would, you know. Because I like to think you could just message me if you're having like a shit day, you know. Hope I'm making sense. Anyway. Tips on how to eat more without feeling stuffed, overeating or binge type behaviour. Increase your carbohydrates, so your, sorry, the oven's on, so I was just checking it's okay. So that is your rice, your starchy carbs, your breads, pasta, that kind of thing. Increase that, and also increase your fat intake. So basically eating more calorie dense foods than voluminous foods. Now, if you're from a background similar to me, I am, and I think I naturally am. I always have loved salad and things like that, and I had to really start to learn that, okay, you can enjoy a salad whenever you want, but it's not going to fuel you for your workouts or your day. So I had to start increasing, you know, putting in sweet potato, rice, that sort of thing. And as soon as I started to increase a few more carbs into my diet, I actually found that I was able to kind of curb that, because I wasn't so focused on food, because I was feeling a lot more satisfied. But nuts are a perfect way of increasing your calories without feeling like you're eating a shit ton of food. I like to say, I'm going to leave this as the last question, so how did you eat now that you've had multiple cycles? I'm going to say that I mindfully eat now. I definitely still have to fight with some disordered eating thoughts. I definitely have to talk myself down sometimes when I look in the mirror and I'm not the size that I used to be, or in the shape like as lean as what I used to be. And I sometimes often have to really talk to myself and be like, Chloe, look at the life that you've got now compared, and the mindset and the happiness and more fulfillment that you've got now that you eat the way you do. So I definitely have those battles still. I don't think that I'm out of that yet, but I would say mostly I eat pretty normal. I sit on the fence about the intuitive eating side of things, because I would say I intuitively eat in the sense of when I'm hungry I eat, and when I'm full I stop. But I do sometimes think if we all fully intuitively eat, I probably would, like, intuitively, I want to sit on the sofa and eat 17 packets of biscuits, but I'm not, because mindfully I know that's not right for me. This is just in my opinion how my brain works. So instead of saying I intuitively eat, I like to say I mindfully eat. Like, I do eat something that my soul might want, for example, whether that's like cake and custard or whatever. I eat that most days, but I would say that I am mindful in the sense of I know that actually that's not going to make me feel good, and my goal is to feel as best as I can every day with the circumstances that I have. And I think food and my food choices help me with that. I really enjoy it, and I don't believe that's disordered, because I generally do feel like I eat what I want, but mindfully I know to make healthier choices. Does that make sense? I'm going to leave it at that because I'm rambling, aren't I? Anyway, I hope those it's not quick, but a few questions helped you in terms of exercise and, no, not exercise, food and HA. If it did, please can you give this video a thumbs up, and could you all do me a favour if you've made it this far? I'm really interested in knowing the sorts of videos that you want from me, so if you could just leave a link, like a comment below, and tell me what you would like, then that would be fabulous. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.